Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com and BidamountLive.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art. And today is Friday, July 30th, almost the end of the month. It's hard to believe. It has been the wettest July in my memory around here. I think we've gotten about 14 inches of rain this month. It's unbelievable. Anyway, here we are. Everything's going along fine. And we're going to talk about a few things that went on this week, a few auction results over on the Live Auctioneers page for the global member pages users, and show you some things that are coming up over there that I think a lot of you are going to find interesting. There's one particular sale I want to talk about. The reason I'm going to talk about it is that I had around 5 inquiries about this one particular lot this week through the identification assistant, the preview assistant service on our sites. These are where people can submit things that they see coming up at auctions and want to know what we think of it. And by the way, we're continuing to do all of the replies as little micro videos. People seem to like them. I think we did about 40 or 50 of them this week instead of typing because of the situation with my hand. So we're doing the little short videos, anywhere from 2.5 to maybe 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, depending on what it needs, and uploading them to our YouTube account, and then sending a reply with a link to it. And it's completely private. It's only visible to the people that have the link, which is the person that made the request. And at any rate, we had a bunch of requests this week on one particular lot that's coming up, and I'm going to talk about it in a few minutes. The other thing I wanted to bring up was that the sale down in Cape Cod this week took place at Eldred's. And it was a pretty good result, but there were some real bargains. And one of the areas there was bargains was on carpets. There were some great buys on carpets. Eldred's is an old auction house, but they sometimes aren't real good on dating things or identifying things like carpets. And believe it or not, a lot of Asian art, they miss the dating on. When they do their Asian art sale, they have somebody that comes in and helps them, I think. But if they're doing it sort of winging it on their own, they tend to be off by quite a bit here and there. And it makes it sort of interesting. But at any rate, one of the things that brought almost no money at all was this really nice old Afshar carpet, Central Persian. They dated it as late 19th to 20th century. No, it's 19th century, very 19th century, probably mid-19th century. It's a very old rug with these giant bota devices all over. It's got an old patch on it. But if you love old textiles and old Middle Eastern textiles, Asian textiles, this was a terrific carpet, I think, despite the repair. Very, very nice old rug, and it went for just $325. I hope one of you got it. That was a bargain. And the other thing that was up was this Jaff Curd saddlebag. These always typically have always done well. This was sort of a nice one, and it went very modestly, just for $100. All right, there it is. Beautifully done. Don't understand why. And then on to the Chinese watercolors. We talked about this one and the other one a few weeks ago. This is the one with the bird on it. It was done about 1800. Beautiful detail. Really, really well done. Absolutely outstanding painting, all framed and ready to go. And the thing was in probably a $400, $500 frame. Fabulous picture. Brought $1,200. What's interesting, though, is that the same right before that lot was this lot, equally good, maybe even a little finer, not quite as flashy, but a bit more elegant, I think. Beautiful China trade on paper. This isn't on pith. This is on paper, probably English paper, Wattman's probably, and absolutely wonderful painting. And somebody got this for nothing, $400 on a single bid against an $800 to $1,200 estimate. I didn't cover the frame. I hope one of you got that. That was an absolutely great buy. That's why I always say, go through and just leave bids, leave rock bottom bids, and you might surprise yourself and get a really good deal. That was one of them. That was a really great buy. And the other thing that was a very good buy, even though it went well over its estimate, was this lot. This was also at Eldred's. This was a lot of Kangxi Amari porcelain. Went for $4,000 against an $1,000 to $1,500 estimate. But if you take this lot and look at it, you've got a lot of value there. You've got these covered jars that routinely they auction, singly on eBay, like this piece right here, for $500 to $700. A Chinese Libary Kangxi teapots like this also go $500 to $700. This two-handled food server, $700 to $1,200. A stack of a bunch of punch bowls, probably ranging in value from $800 to $750. And these are on the lower side; they could bring more. $750 and maybe $400. So right there, you've got about $1,600, no, almost $2,000 worth of stuff. You've got this great big pot over here with this very nice double bird decoration on it. That's about a $900 teapot. This gin bottle up here, those bring anywhere from $1,200 to $1,800 typically. On and on and on. And somebody picked up this whole lot in this shell-form dish, another $300 or $400. And so on and so forth. Somebody bought the whole lot for $4,000. I think that was an absolutely stupendous buy. Absolutely stupendous. Just great. All right. And the whole thing went for $4,000 plus the buyer's premium. There you go. All right. And then on to this sale. This is the sale that I've been asked about. It's being done by an auctioneer I've known for a long time. He's down in the South Shore here in Plymouth, Mass. in Massachusetts. Willis Henry Auctions. And those of you who have been following auctions for a long time may know Willis. He's sort of a famous dealer in Americana and in particular shaker furniture, things like that. He knows a lot about it. He's handled a lot of good estates. This is not an auction house that goes around, with dealers just offloading all their dead inventory. This guy goes out, he gets estates. He gets estates, old New England estates. He brings them in and sells them. And he has real interesting stuff, all this early American stuff. If you collect that, early prints and engravings, whaling prints and engravings, maritime stuff, all this really fabulous early material. Here's an I think this was from the 1880s, Declaration of Independence plaque. Those only turn up in old New England houses, and they're pretty rare. Reasonable estimate, $1,000 to $1,500. It's got a bid. I suspect it's going to go well beyond the estimate, but he doesn't take big reserves. He's there to sell the stuff. There's one painting in here that particularly struck me as wonderful. I was talking to him on the phone. He mentioned it to me because he knows where I live. And this is a painting by Philip Little, for example. This is how people like to buy paintings. Philip Little is a wonderful Massachusetts artist, and these are clam diggers on. I know this has nothing to do with Asian art. This is just a rant. Clam diggers in Salem, Massachusetts, on the clam flats, and we have a lot of clam diggers around here as well. But this is a grungy. This painting. If you bought this painting and cleaned it, it would pop. It would look absolutely great. And in the background is if this is Salem, then that's Marblehead over there, and that's where I grew up. And he mentioned that to me. Maybe he'd get me to throw a bid on it. It's estimated reasonably $2,000 to $3,000, or $2,000 to $3,000, $1,000 opening bid. But cleaned up, that painting would be. You take that to a good painting cleaner and get it revarnished. All the colors would come out of this. It would be a wonderful impressionist painting to have. All right, but on to the main event. Why I'm talking about this auction in particular is this. We had 5 or 6 at least inquiries. Maybe we had 7. I forget. We had a lot of inquiries about this. As soon as this auction got posted on Live Auctioneers for this Kong vase. This is a Guangzhou period, almost Clair de Lune. He said the color's a little bit slightly greener, but not much greener when I talked to him. Absolutely splendid Kong. And people are asking, is this thing real? And it is real. It's a real one, and the provenance on it is a Spinney family from Salem, Massachusetts, who were diplomats and at the turn of the century. They're an old New England family, one of the oldest. And he got a bunch of things out of their house and from a family member, and this was in there. And these Guangzhou Kongs turn up over the years. I've had a number of them from New England houses. They were very popular. I don't know why, what struck everybody, but a lot of them came over during the period as new pieces, either through New Englanders that were living in China or were doing business there or had friends that were there. And for some reason, these came back in larger numbers to New England than anywhere else I can think of. This is where they turn up. I had one that I bought that came out of a guy was clearing a house, and he found it in the attic under an eave, and you just don't know where they're going to come from. I had another nice one from the South Shore, not far from Plymouth, that had a crackle glaze that I sold a number of years ago, and on and on and on. Often they turn up in pairs. People made lamps out of them, so you often see them drilled. They made wonderful table lamps, obviously. They're beautiful. But this is a nice one. It's a real one. The estimate is $800 to $1,200. This auction is on Sunday. It's in a couple days. This vase should bring 10 or 15 times at least its high estimate. It should bring. If you check out Christie's and Sotheby's, they typically sell for anywhere from $15,000 to $22,000 a piece. Expect to pay that if you're going to chase it. If you want to just go and throw a lowball bid of $5,000 or $10,000 on it, you can do that too. But it's an untouched. It's right out of a house. Has a tiny chip on one shoulder. It's very small. When I talked to him on the phone, he was emphatic that I know that. There it is. All right, it's got a little nick out of the glaze there. That's a pretty easy fix. All right, if you know a good ceramic repair guy, and it's not a big impact on the piece because it isn't a crack. It's just some chipped off glaze. But this is a nice piece. The piece looks exactly as it should. Nice rounded foot, beautifully done script, lovely color. This is the rarer of the colors. This very nice, almost clear to loon blue. So that's the story with that. So if you've seen it and you're thinking of sending it in as a submission, you don't have to. The vase is fine. And I told Willis what he could probably expect to get on. He was a little surprised because this isn't really his area. He knows quite a lot about a lot of things, but Chinese stuff not quite so much. So I was happy to talk to him about it. And I called him mainly because I was getting so many inquiries. I wanted to know more about it. There's a pretty good explanation of the family of the provenance here, and it's all legit. It's all legit. All right. And the other thing I wanted to mention from that same collection is this really nice Chinese silk. This is a good one, and it looks like it's been in a box since it was brought back. It's a late Qing silk, beautifully done, about 7 feet long. Spectacular threading, no pulls, no stains, no rot, no nothing. It's in great shape, and here's a detail of it. It has the same crashing wave border that you see across the skirts on robes. Beautifully done, sort of in the Ming style, these lotus and vine decorations, this wonderful rondelle with flowers and a Shao character in the center. And also this piece they threw in with it, which is, I guess it's painted on silk. I think he's what he said. Yeah, it's painted on silk. Quite unusual. Oh. Something going on here in town. We've had a lot of police activity. We had a fire up the street from my house the other morning. It was kind of scary. A neighbor of mine's on the fire department. We got to hear a lot about it. But anyway, the people were fine. Everybody got out. It was a small fire. The fire department in Gloucester is absolutely unbelievable how quick they can get places around here. At any rate, well, I've been on the force for 20 years, so it's part of it. Great guys. At any rate, this lot here, it's up to $950. $700 to $1,000 estimate. I suspect it's going to bring at least $2,000 or $3,000. But it's that one blue silk is absolutely beautiful, and it's big, 7 by 4 feet or something like that. Also from the Spinney family. Alrighty, so that's it. So if you want something interesting to look at, go over to Live Auctioneers, and or go to Willis Henry's own website, which is willishenryauctions.com, or go to Live Auctioneers and go through it. There's a lot of interesting old-time estate stuff in there, early New England stuff. Some nice maritime objects if you like that. There's a few rugs, and it was nice to see because those are the kind of auctions there used to be up here, at least once a week for years. It was within driving distance, and it's now you get some idea how much stuff and things like that Kong used to turn up fairly often back in the 80s and 90s at sales in New England, and you could go to 3 or 4 auctions a week. We made some absolutely breathtaking buys at these auctions over the years. It was great fun, just a ball. Anyway, we made money with it. It was fun. We built up our own collections, and I still have a painting that I bought at one of these auctions. I've had a few. I've kept a lot of them, but one painting in particular I bought 30 years ago at a VFW Hall auction on a Saturday afternoon, and it was belonged to a prominent Boston family, and it had been on loan to the Museum of Fine Arts, I think 2 or 3 times, and it had been on loan to the Fogg Museum at Harvard several times. And I picked it up, and I'll probably get buried with it someday. I won't tell you how much it was, but it was about the price of a good dinner for two. All right. It's the way it was. It's just the way it was. And this is the other thing I wanted to mention. Bill Neal is a dealer over in England, and I've been in touch with him. We've been corresponding back and forth. Very nice guy. And he specializes in Chinese export mother-of-pearl counters. And for those of you who don't know much about him, but you've seen them, these are what they look like. He, I guess, he's quite an expert on it. He's written a book on it, and he's going to be doing some selling on the Bidamount Live site. He currently sells also on eBay. These are some of his things on eBay. And he reached out to me because he's written a couple of booklets on identifying and dating these counters. And people see them. Everybody has seen these around, and they go, oh, what are those things? What is it? Mother-of-pearl game counters. And I first learned about them many, many years ago from a man named Crosby Forbes, who was the curator of the Peabody Essex Museum and the Robert Bennett Forbes House Museum. And he had a few of them, and he was showing to me. And this was 40 years ago. I never really knew much about them. And these were for gambling, gaming counters. And the Chinese loved to gamble. And then they began getting introduced into the China trade in the early 1700s. And they're made from mother of pearl, and they are done almost like engraving plates. Extremely fine work. These things are small. They're about the size of silver dollars, typically, a little smaller maybe. And Bill Neal specializes in these, and there they are. You get an idea how small they are, and they even cut the edges like they did coins back in the old day. They put those little cuts in them, and absolutely beautiful miniature little bits of art. China trade captains used to cherish them. People would order armorial dinner services, including royal families, and they'd order a set of gaming chips with their family crest on them. And there's an absolutely great history to them, and nobody pays much attention to them anymore. It's too bad. And I think that it's one of those areas that you could really get into because there isn't a lot published about them. He's written a couple of booklets on them. I think they're about 20 pounds or something, very reasonable. And he's going to send me a copy, so I'll review them when they come in because I love this kind of stuff. Sort of underappreciated but amazing quality. And things like this do exist in Chinese art. The reason that they haven't taken off like rockets because the Chinese themselves, that market, they typically don't buy Western gaming counters. They're bought by China trade collectors. And you've seen them before. Some are junky, some are great. He goes through them, and on his website, and I'll put the link down below the video here, you can go check out his site. He has a shop on there. He's got some reference pages set up on the history of gaming counters, how it began, how to date them, because they were made over the period of several hundred years. Royal counters, sets and boxes. He sells them. It's his business. He's been doing it for a long time, and I think he seems like a really nice guy. And we're going to probably put a link on Bidamount for him too, because I think this is a great little area for collecting, because you can buy them, they won't break the bank, and you can develop a whole area of interest on them. As you can see here, where's the eBay listing? Hold on a second. Here it is. They're reasonably priced. This closes tomorrow. There are 3 of them in this lot, and the detail work is just stunning. It truly is just absolutely stunning. And many people wonder how they even did it. And you create entire sets with dozens and dozens and dozens of pieces in a set for gaming and gambling. All right. So anyway, that's the bit of the sort of interest of the week story. Mother of Pearl gaming counters, and the site that he has is called shaybill.com. All right. And I suggest you check it out. He also has, by the way, he has a free newsletter, and sign up for it. The little window will pop up when you visit the site. Sign up for his newsletter. This is the kind of area where if you learn about this subject and you're out hunting around at auctions and doing things, you could find some rather rare pieces that are priced in alignment with just junky pieces. Because nobody seems to really know how to date and value these things. You could from a financial side turn up some pretty good things. All right, so keep that in mind. So it's worth knowing about. It's one of those little things that could give you a big day if you walk into the right antique shop or go to the right auction. You could really make out. All right, now moving on to let's see here. This was some of the things that were sold on eBay this week. You had we had them in the newsletter, this very attractive pair of armorial gravy boats done in an English silver form. European silver form, where they would sometimes send over actual pieces of silver or pieces of carved wood that looked like this, and instruct the porcelain makers to make this part of a big dinner service. This would have been part of a huge dinner service with this crest on it. You know, platters, tureens, plates, bowls, the whole bit. But a very nice one. And somebody bought these on a single bid of $450. All right, which the problem was that the seller put it up with a high opening bid. High opening bids will kill your stuff. The reason is that eBay will not give it any attention in the search algorithms until it gets some activity. And if it has a very high opening bid, the Cassini algorithm looks at it and says, we've had these before, and the ones that sell for the most money, that eBay makes the most money off of, are the ones that get a lot of attention, get a lot of traction, get 10, 20, 30, 40 bids within the first 6 days, and take off. This got one bid. I think it had one bid when we posted it about a week ago. It closed a couple days later, and it never rose in the algorithm. And somebody got both of these for $450. 2 armorial gravy boats that match. All right, absolutely great buy. He should have started these at $10 or $20, and he probably would have gotten $600 or $700 for them. So I hope one of you was that single bid. All right, and now on to this early 20th century Lang Yao style, or Kang Shi style Lang Yao vase. They had this listed as, how did they put this up? Vase for Qing Dynasty. I don't think it was. I think it was probably Republic, judging by the tone, the way the glaze is so even, and the appearance of that bottom, this sawed-off squared bottom where all the glaze ran over. And it could be very, very late Qing, but I'm more inclined to think it was being Republic. But it's a beautiful monochrome. It's in beautiful shape. And, you know, the Kangxi originals like this can bring, you know, anywhere from $15,000 to $100,000, depending on the quality of the glaze. This one went for $1,341, which I think is probably pretty reasonable. This was Avion's Antiques up in Canada. Nice thing. And then over here to this, we talked about this a week or two ago when it went up, was this Swato pewter serving dish with jade handles on the ends here, and these beautiful removable enamel dishes. Absolutely lovely. Republic period for sure, but beautiful quality. They did such great work with pewter. In the Chinese domestic market, they typically don't buy pewter, but this was a very nice one. And the enamel decorated inserts are all in good shape. Very nice color, not a lot of wear to them, no chips that I could see, a little bit of chipping over here, but overall pretty good shape, nice condition. The metal was in good shape, and there's the one area where they had some chipping. Looks like somebody probably dropped something on it. If you bought it and you want to get it fixed, that's not a big thing to get fixed. It's just on enamel and copper. Somebody picked the setup for $810, which is fine. This thing was pretty big. This thing was, you know, several, you know, 1.5 feet in diameter. 18 inches, probably 18 inches by something. Well, how big was it? We'll check. 16 by 18, 17 and a half inches, almost 18 inches. Yeah, that's about right. All right. Very nice thing, though. Very elegant. They look great on a table for a party. I would recommend, by the way, if you buy things like this, use it. Use it at your dinner party, by all means. And then on to this. This was a misdated bowl to some degree. This is a Hongmu period, 15th century Ming dish. I think they were sort of implying, what did they call it? Chinese 17th century Ming bowl. No, this wasn't 17th century. This was 15th century. He was off by 200 years. This was Roundhouse Antiques. And you know by the back of it, when you flip this thing over, first is that hazy sort of slightly blurry cobalt decoration. And then you look at the back of it here with that curved inward, slightly rounded foot rim. Very typical of Hongmu workmanship. You see this type of plate they did most of them with the big peacock in the middle. Is how most people see them. And here's another example here. And somebody picked this up for $150, which isn't bad. I think it was about 10 inches in diameter. Pretty good buy. That was a good buy. A nice, much older plate than it looked. Much older. And then over here to Katawiki, the Kangxi vase. This thing closed and didn't have a reserve on it. And we're trying to include more and more things from Katawiki. They don't have reserves. And this was a nice example, probably for the Middle Eastern or the Indian market, judging by the shape. Went for 600 euros, which I think was a very good buy. Now, that's a nice piece of Kangxi. There it is, 20 centimeters high, so 8 inches in height. It's got the cafe edge applied here, and the decorations look nice and tight. And somebody picked it up for 600 euros or around 700 or so dollars, which isn't bad. These can bring, they can bring 11, 12, 1,300 dollars sometimes. All right, and then this was one of my favorite things that's been on here for a couple of weeks. I absolutely love this. It's beautifully done rock crystal incense burner, Qing Dynasty, probably early 19th century, could even be a little older, but very, very nice. The lid obviously is added later, and the base is later, but the lid is superbly well carved. It's a 20th century lid, but boy, somebody really they knew this was nice, so they carved a beautiful cover for it. And it didn't have these rock crystal things. Somebody emailed me saying these rock crystal things, they have rock crystal lids. I said no, they typically didn't know. They were just carved and they just were open burners. All right, but nice looking piece of rock crystal, and a lot of people liked it. It ended up selling for $1,625, but nice legit piece from who's this? Ancient Rhyme had this out in Las Habras, California. Nice thing. I hope one of you got it. And then this Immortals dish, Kangxi period, Yongchen period, very nicely done with the twin Mandarin ducks, and then the figures going around the outside. It's a well-known pattern. These were done for export primarily. Here's a picture of the back of it. They had some very nice detail shots. Good photography with this lot. Absolutely great photography. And microscopic rim frets, things like that. They don't mean a thing on these. And ended up selling for $1,853. Very, very pretty, though. Beautiful. And they always bring that money. They always seem to bring that money, as long as they're not cracked or repaired. They all seem to bring anywhere from $1,500 to $2,200, depending on the size. If you get a charger on one of these, they can bring $5,000 or $6,000. They can bring a lot if it's a big one. And then the monster mirror. With this nice old jade insert in the back. The mirror frame itself and all that is late Qing or Republic period, but the jade is older, and the jade handle was very nice too. The jade belt hook handle, and somebody had picked it up in this sort of nice presentation box. Let's see if we can get over here. All right, let's see what else they got. There we go. Here you can really see the carving. The carving on this was excellent. Always, when you look at jades online like this, always look for areas of reflection. If the photographer knows what he's doing, he's going to make sure these areas appear so they're nice and visible, so you get a real sense of the carving. You can see how it was. You get that sense of it being smooth by hand, not machine polished like the modern ones. There's a slightly hazy texture to it. Low relief, very nice low relief carving, beautifully done. There you can see more of it up in here. That little bit of, it's almost like sometimes on jades you almost see it's like a tiny bit of almost like orange peel from the processing, from the cleaning and how they polished it. It's not orange peel, but there's a very slight texture to it. And this was a nice one, Notice the ribbons are done and all this. It's very elaborate, absolutely great looking thing. And somebody, I think, got a perfectly reasonable buy. $2,500 on this. I think that was absolutely reasonable, given the two components and the very nice belt hook that was built into it. You figure the belt hook itself is probably worth, that color, nice greenish white jade, as long as it wasn't damaged, was probably worth $800 to $1,200 alone. And then you have this honking plaque on top of it that was probably taken out of a Ruyi scepter. I'm going to bet at one point that was sitting as the large end of a Ruyi scepter. I suspect that's where it came from. The scepter broke. They were, because they were often brought back jade inset ones with three jade insets in it. One at the end, the large one like this one, a smaller squarish one or a round one, oval one in the center, and then another one on the bottom. And the stick gets the wood frame gets busted, and they break them up and then they repurpose the jades, and that's how they typically ended up in mirrors. All right, and then on to this. This is one of my last favorite things that was on eBay last week, because there's not a lot on there right now. I think this week there's going to be quite a bit more, and we'll go through a few of the pieces. But as you know, a lot of people are away on vacation. In Europe right now this is right at the heart of their big vacation period in the summer, and like here with the epidemic and all that, everybody's dying to get away. go out and enjoy themselves, do some camping, have some fun, travel, take pictures, do things like that. I'm heading I'm going to be going to New Hampshire in a few weeks for a while with my wife, just to get out of town. Why not? All right. Anyway, but we'll be doing this stuff. We have the cameras and everything already set up there. Anyway, and then we have the tortoiseshell box. This was a really nice box. We talked about this last week when we put it in the newsletter. It has this bamboo turned edging on it, very nicely done. I think it had one or two minor little tiny separations. Because remember, tortoiseshell is very reactive to environment. It can bend and warp a little bit. It's affected by humidity, central heat, and all that, sort of almost the way ivory is. But this is a nice piece of carving. Truly was. I hope one of you got it and you can get it shipped to you legally. An absolutely great example, and did just fine. $1,700, and that's sort of the range they bring. There was one on here a few months ago that I think last week you talked about it, and this is sort of the range they bring, and I think they're radically undervalued. I think they're crazily undervalued as a great object. All right, now let's see here. What's coming up this week? Just a few things that are on here. Speaking of tortoiseshell, is this a tortoiseshell breeze fan? But this is a really nice one. Very detailed, very, very, very detailed, and looks to be in excellent shape. But really, really fine quality. Look at these primary blade ends here with the dragons on it. Just absolutely, there it is here with a man and dragons, a figure, a man and a boy. It looks like absolutely great quality. Couple of little nicks which they're pointing out here and there, not relevant really, but they do point them out. And here's the other blade end on here. And then all these very, very finely done blades. And they're done exactly the way they did really fine ivory, but in tortoiseshell, which I think is a bit better. Carved tortoiseshell is certainly more rare than ivory. And what's it up to? $560. It closes Sunday. Expected to bring $1,500 to $2,000 anyway. It may go for less, but if you seriously want it, expect to pay that for it. It's a beautiful fan. But sometimes they slip through the cracks. And this is being sold by a seller in the UK. So check your local laws before you buy it and try to get it shipped. You don't want to get in trouble. All right, because some places allow them, some places don't. People are not killing tortoises these days and carving them for their shells. So it's the restrictions on them is sort of silly. And then you have this very nice tobacco leaf dish, enamel dish. It looks like a real one to me, judging by the back. I looked at this a while ago. It has a nicely shaped rim on it. It's got a little bit of wear in the enamels here and here, but the coloring is good. The coloring is bold and gutsy. The drawing is nice, and it's up to $475. It closes on Monday. It'll probably go up probably double that or a little better by the end. And then over here to this 18th century, possibly Kangxi period fish pattern plate. We've seen this kind of plate before. They did it in underglazed blue. They did them occasionally in famille rose. Most often they're done in Wutsai, done in this palette here. Nice looking old dish. Here's a picture of the back of it. It appears to be 18th century. I'm not convinced it's Kangxi period. That's why I'm saying 18th century. There's a few aspects of the way it looks on the back. These turning lines and the characteristics of the foot makes me think it might be more just, chin lung or something done like that. But it's up to just $37, 4 days to go, and it closes on Wednesday. But it's very pretty and very well decorated. So buy it as an 18th century piece. And then this jumped up at me. This is being listed. I'm going to have this in the newsletter, and I hope everybody pays attention to this. This is listed as being Chinese. It's not. It's Japanese. It's a very nice mizusashi. It's missing its lid, but nicely decorated. It's got a little line in here, but I like it. It's got this fish scale business on the end, these profusion of underglazed blue. It was made in Arita, probably late 18th or early 19th century. Absolutely lovely mizusashi, and it's got the holes, but originally it had a cover, and it lost its cover somewhere along the way. But this panel and decoration is absolutely beautiful, and a lot of people that know Chinese stuff aren't going to buy it. So you're not going to be competing with people in mainland China unless they don't know what they're doing. So it's been up for 4 days. It's only got one bid. All right, and that'll be in the newsletter. But keep in mind, it is not Chinese as advertised. It's actually Japanese, and I don't think it's duplicity on part of the seller. I just think he probably just assumed it was Chinese by the way it was done. All right, but it's a nice one, nice one. And then over here on this is a very attractive silver box coming up. And you can look up the mark over on the reference section on Bidamount in the silver book. Is this very, very finely done circular box. A few months ago, one was up here that was quite similar to this. It ended up selling for, I think, for around $2,000 or $3,000. This is very, very similar quality, top quality silver work here with gold. All right, and we'll see what this brings. It's at $11.75. All right. And on the Bidamount site, we have a bunch of things have turned on the Bidamount Live site. A bunch of new things have turned up. This week we got into an estate collection. This family is sort of an. I'm not bringing it to tout my own things, but it's an interesting collection. It's a New England family, and they were part of the family were the consulate generals to China. But they were I believe, from Hungary, country of Hungary. But one branch of the family lived here. They've got family members scattered all over the place. Lovely people, and they're getting ready to retire. And a number of the things they have, they've asked me to sell for them. And one of them is this terrific He Zhuanggu immortal painting of the female immortal on the waves. Nice one, probably early 19th century. But they had all kinds of fascinating stuff. They had, great samurai swords, and the family had spent some time in Japan, and they had an absolutely mind-boggling Netsky collection. Absolutely the best. Boxwood. Oh God. And she said, "What should I do with it?" I said, "You have to keep this. You can't sell this. This is great." So they're going to keep that. And they gave me some nice things to sell. And so you got that. But the other thing that turned up this week on the Bidamount Live site was this very nice, better, top quality Chinese export tankard for $299 with a serpent handle. Now he says that the tip of the handle has a restoration or a small repair in it. That's the only thing that's wrong with it. He's UV checked it, but look at the bottom of this. Just this pure white, beautiful looking paste on the bottom of this. Very nice China. If you're a China trade mug collector, you want to check that out. That's a good one. And I love the serpent handles are fairly rare because they didn't survive. They all got broken, and it's under $300. All right, and make him an offer if you really like it. See what he says. And somebody put this up. This is nice. This is a terrific little wine cup. I think it's a wine. He called it a brush washer. I don't think it is. I think it's a little wine cup from the 14th or 15th century with that creamy white glaze on it, probably for the Vietnamese market. But very, very nice. This almost looks like something that came out of the Page collection, Brian Page's collection. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, but it says Tung Kin on it. So it was in Vietnam at one point, and it's old inventory numbers. Nifty item though for $195. So we're seeing some nice things turn up there, and that's the site is coming along. It's doing fine. We actually sold a number of things this week on there. I didn't check it for a day or two. We had these sales. I felt kind of stupid for not checking my own sales. I was checking everybody else's. At any rate, that's it for the week. Have a wonderful weekend. It is going to be 74 degrees here today. It's a little on the cool side with a breeze. We're going over to a little club we belong to this evening for dinner and dancing, which will be nice. Nice to get out and see some folks. And I hope you all have something fun to do. I think my grandkids are staying. Yeah, two of the grandchildren are staying with us this weekend on top of it. So we're going to have a busy household. I like that. All right. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.